So we're down here at the beach and look who it is. It's Stateport pilot reporter Alexandria Sands. Alex, what's the big story this week?
We're here on Oak Island where the beach is open for business. The parking's open for business. The parking's open for cars. The chairs, coolers, umbrellas.
One more question. Is it true that Captain Jerry writes for the Stateport pilot? That's true, right?
Occasionally.
Now, have you met him?
No.
I've met him. I know him. So you've never met him?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, we're back on the beach. We're in the surf, but the surf has been a little slow, especially last week. It was a little colder, and the wind was still kicking up, so it was kind of rough. There was some whiting caught, but a lot of them were small, and not much else, except for bonnethead. I caught a bonnethead in the last video, and then again this week I caught one. This little guy. I mean, he's not anything to write home about. He's only about a foot there, but I just caught him on a piece of shrimp. Actually, I'm trying to catch bluefish. I got a piece of mullet on there. You can see a little mullet tail, but I've not been successful with the blues. And then I'm like, well, if I'm catching all these cute little bonnetheads, maybe I should just like go fishing for bonnetheads. Like, let's target a nice sized bonnethead. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to put this guy back in the water and we're going to head back to the dock and get some bonnethead bait. All right, the first thing you need to know if you want to go fishing for bonnethead is that they use those shovel heads to dig up crabs. They love crabs. So we're here on the dock and we put out the crab trap and we got a couple of crabs. So we're going to use these for bait. Now, I'm not going to use all of them, so I don't mind that they're running around. I'm going to grab this guy right here and I'm going to throw him into my professional crab carrying apparatus, otherwise known as a tackle box. He's just going in there. I'm just going down the surf. He's not going to be in there that long, so he'll be okay. Basically, I'm going to let the rest of the crabs go. I guess I had a crab boil. That would have been fun, right? And throwing them back in. I'll save them and come back and get them later. I'm going to go fishing right now. So these are all males. If you look at the bottom, the little flap on the bottom, if this guy doesn't pinch me, I'll show you. Yeah, he's just going in the water. I'll get another one out. There's a little flap on the bottom, and if the flap is skinny, I think you'll be able to see it right here. You see that little flap on the bottom? That's real skinny? Right there. That's a male. And if it's wide and fat, it's a female. And I don't like to keep the females. I like to keep the males. Actually, I kept this one also, and I put him in the bucket that I created for just this kind of savings. It's hard to get him out of the crab trap, but it's easy to get him out of the bucket. So I've made this bucket with holes in it. I got this bucket for like $5 at Lowe's, the home improvement, and I'm just going to throw that out there. That was kind of mean. I hope he's okay. He gives a hard landing. There's the flap I'm talking about. Okay, see how it's skinny there? All right, this is viewer discretion advised. He's coming to his demise right here. I'm going to cut him in half. Some people like to use whole crabs, and that's fine too. But I find that, you know, if you leave it out there and a bonnethead doesn't come along, it's going to get eaten, picked up by the other fish. And so, you know, I'm going to want to change it out in a little while. Now I'm going to show you how I rig my half a crab. This is a number 5/0 hook, and what I do is I usually break off one of the legs, and I like to just stick the hook in there and then pop it up through the bottom. I find the tops fly off. I'll fish with the top on, but a lot of times the tops break off and the bottoms don't when you go to cast it. Now I will wade way out there and give that thing a hurl because the bonnetheads are pretty far. Look how far from the shore I am. Pretty good distance. So I will. Now look what happened here. When I went to throw it, it popped off. See, I told you sometimes they pop off. I'm going to remedy that situation. This is number 2. And what I did is I took a little zip tie and I stuck it through the eye. Here's a better view. I stuck it through the eye of the hook, so I'm not going to lose it. And I wrapped it around the 2 legs. And then I just left it hanging off there because there's like a 3rd leg. Now that's not going to come off. So wade back out there and give this guy a cast. Now, that is a number 5 hook. I've got an American fishing wire. So the hook, the shark's got to have the wire because the shark's got the sharp teeth, and they're going to bite. They're going to bite off the. If it was just line, they can cut through it pretty easily. Plus, their skin is pretty rough. So it wasn't too long, and we got a bonnethead. So here's the hit. Fish on. This is I can feel is a nice size fish, and he decided to go for a run, and so I started reeling him in. So I was reeling him in for a little bit. He's not the biggest bonnethead in the wide world, but I'm going to cut to the chase here and get to the end because you don't want to see me reeling him in for like 20 minutes. But I'll let him take a couple of runs. But he's not really huge. But what I had done was I had walked down the beach with him. I do that. I don't just stand in one spot. I'll kind of walk down the beach with the bigger fish because it kind of gives them, they kind of run sideways, and I just feel like that kind of tires them out a little bit. So at this point, I'm just dragging up on the sand there. I wasn't even reeling him at that point and wanted to get closer. And what I had realized, because I was walking him down the beach, I had walked away from my bucket and my pliers were in my bucket. So I had to send my trusty assistant here. I asked him if he could go get my pliers. And so, yeah, he was pretty excited that I had caught a hammerhead. Meanwhile, my glasses kept like falling off my head. I'm trying to get this fish and my sunglasses. So finally I was just like, this isn't working. So I just kind of put them down, not realizing the tide is still coming in. Right there. So that's the end of my sunglasses, right? Where did they go? So I got the hook out of them pretty quickly. And then I decided I was going to let him go. I could keep him. You can eat bonnethead. I've had him before. I like shark, actually. I don't have a problem with it. My trusty assistant was disappointed that I let him go. But there was a lot of people on the beach, and I just felt like sometimes they don't like to see. They like to bleed them right away, and sometimes I just feel like they kind of like, oh, look, a hammerhead, a baby hammerhead, and then you chop its head off, and they're like, oh, what'd you do that for? So I thought it was best to probably let this one go. I think I can catch another one. That's about it.